We are here at Intercoiffure 2015 Fall Atelier in New York City, the Waldorf Astoria, with our good friend Vivienne Mackinder. And this is a second in our little series of interviews with Vivienne. We're here today to talk about her iconic documentary series, I Am Not Just a Hairdresser. Good morning, Vivienne.
Good morning.
Start with the inspiration, because this is, first of all, if our listeners have not seen it, you'll tell us how we can find it, but I highly recommend it. It's really the best done history, I think, of the modern industry. Sure. It's really the only, I think, really great deep documentation of it. So where did the idea start?
A couple of places, actually. The first was that a painter, an artist of any kind would know their history. If you're studying classic art, you'd know who Picasso was, you'd know Renoir, you'd know all those masters, so that you could learn from them and you could take a little piece and make it your own. So I felt that we should protect our history, and so I started on this quest from that perspective of preserving and protecting. And I realized one day too that the way that some people view us, the press, movies, the media, how they kind of would always have this sort of stereotype hairdresser that's sort of an out-of-work bimbo sort of person. And so I didn't like that perception of our industry. And I also realized that I was very blessed to have such close relationships with some of these iconic people. And I thought, how many people could call Vidal and chat to him and learn from him? And I was one of those very fortunate people that could. And I thought, wouldn't it be amazing if I could go there on behalf of our entire industry and ask him some really important questions, and we could all learn. So that was one part of it. I was feeling fed up with hairdressing. I was not in a good place. I wasn't in a good place on a personal level. I was thinking about quitting the industry. I felt burnt out. I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. I felt like I just hit a wall. And so I was looking for guidance. I was looking for being mentored. And at the time, it wasn't a trendy thing to say icon or mentor. It's become a very common thing to say. So it's like, oh, who do you go to get that sort of help? So I thought, well, you go to the top, don't you? So it sort of began there, from history, self-esteem of our industry and myself, and realizing that we could all learn and benefit from these iconic people. And probably the hardest phone call I ever made in my career was the first phone call, which was to Vidal. Would he actually be in this movie? And he was so gracious, he said yes. I thought I was going to die when I picked up that phone.
He was amazingly gracious, and of course you had a great relationship with him. And he was brilliant, in sharing what he shared. And again, the series is so brilliant. Interesting what you said. I've recommended to so many people they watch these series because they are where you were, which is being stuck. And no matter what career you're in, I think it's common, as people, that we get stuck in life, and we tend to be hopefully drawn to things we have passion for, and it kind of sucks when the passion starts to run dry. Yeah. And it's great to have such a resource that allows people hopefully to reignite their passion. So,
yes.
Kudos to you for doing that. Talk a little bit about some of the other personalities who were, because again, amazing resources and people that you connected with.
Yeah, I mean, I actually found quite a few of the people that I selected. For me personally, I am actually quite a shy person, and I know that people think, right, but I am. Socially, I can be very, very shy. So for me to go up to some of these people, I found it very intimidating. So, and once they opened themselves up to me, I realized that we had so much in common. So, namely, Anthony Muscola, to hear the story of how Tony and Guy began, in the 50s in London, and how hokey pokey that little first salon was, and the empire that the brothers built, is a huge story from rag to riches. Horst, to find out that man who was so fascinating, on one side very spiritual, the other side financially very driven, a very shrewd, successful businessman who pioneered a big part of our industry with all the botanicals and the organic. At that time, that was really pioneering. and to ask him pointed questions as to how can you be so spiritual and rich at the same time. One's materialistic and the other is non-materialistic. And I always remember he said in his very thick Austrian accent, "It is very difficult, Vivienne." You know, I was like, okay. So, you know, these people, Frederick Fekkai, you know, he, a beautiful, elegant French gentleman, and how he came to New York and how he didn't like hair salons. And he wanted to create something that wasn't the typical hair salon experience. And so they each had their magical story. And when you hear the struggle behind the success, it makes it more real for you. And then you realize in your own life, in your own story, you know, we live our life forward, but we learn backwards. So when you think about where you are right now, and I think every professional gets stuck, and you climb this ladder and it reaches its point, it has a lid on it, and so you either have to jump onto a taller ladder, you need to take another step, and sometimes when we get super comfortable, it's hard to make that shift. So when you hear any of the stories in the film series, of which there are currently 4, you hear about the roadblocks, the challenges, the frustration, the fear. As you know, I stood by Trevor Sorby's side for a long time as his artistic director and his friend. So to ask Trevor questions about what was the darkest hour in your life, that's not something you talk about over a lunch, is it? Like, oh, you know, tell me about the darkest hour of your life. Come on, tell me. You don't. Mm-hmm. So I knew this man so well, and yet when I interviewed him and asked these very, very specific questions, it was like I discovered a whole other side of this man and the vulnerability. And, you know, so many people have failed their way to success. And I think for anyone listening to this, no matter where you are in your career, I think it's just an amazing thing of inspiration. And when you are burnt out and tired and stressed and overworked and all those other things, it's good to go to someone who will really inspire you. And the thing about these mentors is that they're all incredibly successful.
And, you know, I would add, because I've been really lucky to have met all of them, and I'm not Vivienne Mackinder, you know, and I met them all at different times in my career, and whenever it was, and I think this is so true of so many people in our industry, they were so giving of their time, of their thoughts, you know, of advice, and I've seen them do that with young people, with people who've been around for a while, people they know, people they don't know. You know, Vidal was such a great example of a gracious human being, but who just loved to share with people. And so to the audience, I'd say, you know, never be afraid to reach out to these people. You know, never be afraid to walk up to a Vivienne Mackinder and ask questions and you know, find time to, you know, tap into the power that you all have in terms of mentoring, even if it's in the moment, you know.
Absolutely.
I think it's a really powerful thing, and you've done a great thing in sharing this. So what's next with this series?
Well, actually, I have an hour and a half of video footage of Vidal that no one's seen. In fact, I have a lot of footage that people haven't seen. So one of the things I'm going to do is actually go back into that footage, and my thought, so I'm sharing something that's not confirmed, but my thought is to actually, because the genius is in the question. That's the genius. If you want to be mentored, you better really work on your questions, because a great mentor is going to give you the answers, and they'll only be the answer based on that question. So what I was thinking about doing, because we did ask Vidal such extraordinary questions, I was thinking today if I could get young people on camera to ask that question, whether it be from their phone, but, you know, like a selfie video, and thread that into the film. So I have young people today asking the question that I actually asked, but Vidal is answering it.
It's genius.
So that's what I'd like to do, because I want to bring the young into that, and I think that would be very, very interesting and very, very helpful. So I've got more of them, but actually the next one that it was on the list to do was actually one around the editorial world, the freelance world, because there's so many youngsters that are interested in that world, and to talk to the guys that I know who are so super, super successful, you need to see the other side of it. And it is a different part of our industry. It is not the hair industry, it's the fashion industry. And understanding that world, it's amazing aspects and its challenges and what it takes, so that actually it's like stripping away what it really is all about. So that was going to be the 5th one. So at some point I will go back in, and I know the people I want to interview, so I think it would be pretty cool.
I'm excited. I'm excited. American Salon's excited. I think our audience will be very excited to be able to see that soon. And I love the editorial focus because there is a lot of confusion and a lot of interest around the topic. So hopefully you will peel back the onion a little bit and let us get a closer look. I'm excited. Thank you again for being with us.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Thank you.
We will talk to you again soon.
Thank you.